Disneyland California, the world's first modern theme park. Opened in 1955, it set the standard with innovations the likes of which were never seen before in the amusement park industry. And that trend continues to this very day. Disneyland Park and Disneyland's California Adventure Park, along with 3 hotels and a vibrant shopping and entertainment district, makes up the Disneyland Resort. Get ready to go behind the scenes as we uncover the mysteries of how the happiest place on Earth has remained just that for over 5 decades. You'll see how Disney has captivated the imagination of generations of visitors with the latest in technologically advanced shows and attractions. Plus, you'll get a sneak peek at the many new attractions in the works for Disney's California Adventure. It's Disneyland Resort, behind the scenes. The Disneyland Resort is comprised of 2 theme parks, Disneyland and Disney's California Adventure, a lively restaurant, shopping and entertainment district, and 3 resort hotels. Just a few miles from the California coast in Anaheim. It was no surprise when Disney expanded the property from one theme park to a multifaceted experience that created a true resort destination. The secret to Disney's success just may be their uncanny ability to evolve in order to keep up with the tastes of current and future theme park guests.
Walt Disney was fond of saying Disneyland will never be completed. For us to be successful, we have to not only come up with new ideas, but they have to challenge the limits of what everybody sees as entertainment. So we're constantly on the prowl all over the planet, seeing films, seeing new shows and things to spur us on with ideas that take off and deliver something that no one has ever expected before.
To all who come to this happy place, welcome.
When the original Disneyland Park opened in 1955, it immediately set the standard that all modern theme parks strive to achieve to this day. According to Tourist Attractions and Parks magazine, more people have walked through its turnstiles than any other park on the planet, making it the most attended theme park in the history of mankind. Disneyland Park is a place of fantasy and imagination where you can blast into space, cruise up jungle rivers, encounter 999 happy haunts, swashbuckling pirates, and of course, one-of-a-kind adventures and thrills.
Disney is a true icon of pop culture. I can't imagine what popular culture would be today without it.
The park is laid out like a huge wagon wheel, with a castle at its hub, and enchanting themed lands radiating outward. There's Tomorrowland, which showcases the romanticism of the future by paying homage to the retro future, reminiscent in Jules Verne illustrations. Fantasyland, created with the goal of making dreams come true. Frontierland recreates the pioneer days of the American frontier. Critter Country's rustic appeal offers many encounters with some of Disney's favorite furry friends. And Adventureland, depicting exotic, remote regions of the world. Then there's the New Orleans Square, the first new land added since opening day, based on 19th century New Orleans. And finally, Mickey's Toontown, with attractions starring classic cartoon characters. Welcoming guests as they enter Disneyland is Main Street USA, a place to relive the typical turn-of-the-century Main Street. Inspired by Walt's idealized remembrance of small-town America during his own childhood, this is the portal into a fictitious land of magic and make-believe. With a real cinema, railroad, fire engine, carriages, streetcars, restaurants, and delightful shops, the hustle and bustle of Main Street USA never fades. And the hero shot at the end of this scene is none other than Sleeping Beauty Castle, a fairy tale structure that perhaps defines the park.
I think of all the symbols in Disneyland, the castle signifies a gateway to a world of dreams.
And now, guests can get an up-close and personal look inside the castle on the Sleeping Beauty Castle walk-through tour.
The Sleeping Beauty Castle is the symbol of the park, and probably one of the most requested things we would get from our guests is, how do you get in it? Or where is the entrance to the castle? I mean, a lot of people can't even imagine coming here and not being able to go in the castle. So it was really exciting when we were able to make it possible for you to go through a magical story of Sleeping Beauty as you walk through the experience.
This unique look inside the park icon recently reopened bigger and better.
Walt Disney opened an amazing exhibit inside this castle back in 1957, and it stayed here until the later part of the 70s. For years it was closed, and we decided, let's bring it back, and only this time let's put all kinds of new special effects in it. What we have is a tribute to what Walt did back at the dawn of Disneyland.
Over the archway of the castle hangs the Disney coat of arms. And just past the drawbridge is something most people overlook or step right over. It's a golden spike that marks the geographical center of the entire park. As for the drawbridge, it actually works. Though it's been raised and lowered only twice, once at the grand opening, and again in 1983 to inaugurate the remodeling of Fantasyland, when the theme was changed from a medieval atmosphere to one of a quaint European village. Disneyland is able to stay one step ahead of the times by remaining on the cusp of cutting-edge technology and keeping a beat on the pulse of thrill seekers.
So many things that were here opening day were gone 3 or 4 years later. Probably the most change was in Tomorrowland because Walt wanted a world on the move.
It's this relentless dedication to introducing the latest in thrills for new and classic attractions that sets Disney apart, such as the 147-foot tall Fantasyland attraction, Matterhorn Mountain, originally built in 1959.
Matterhorn is considered to be the first steel coaster ever constructed. It uses a tubular steel track. This track system allows for multiple smooth turns and changes in elevation. The sleds traverse nearly to the top of the mountain and come back down again, ending in that lake rush of water, acting as a braking system.
And because of the bobsleds came the creation of modern ride control and the ability to have more than one coaster out on the track at the same time.
In most coasters that you find anywhere else, you'll just see one car out on the track and another one waiting until that comes back in the station.
Over the years, Disney has given the mountain a facelift, inside and out, to wow guests on their first visit or 101st.
Since they revitalized it, they went back in and they added a lot of new stuff inside. They put light back into the old crystals that were originally part of the ride.
Though some of the mountain caves and other openings were filled in, the attraction is still honeycombed with caverns and bobsled paths. And something else hasn't changed. It's still home to the abominable snowman. Fantasyland is probably the area most often associated with Disneyland itself, at least by children. And as we venture into the place dedicated to the young at heart, one attraction that has stood the test of time is It's a Small World.
Going through the water, floating through, the facade's exciting, but it's a small world song, which has probably left a lasting impression in more people's mind than just about any theme park experience.
Everybody knows the theme song from It's a Small World. Whether you love it or hate it, you have an opinion about it, but it is really an amazing piece of music.
When we first wrote It's a Small World, we wrote it as a ballad. Actually, we wrote it sort of slowly and carefully because it was like a prayer for peace. That's how we started it. And then we started moving it into tempo later. And the world knows it as an up-tempo piece, but I'll play a little bit of it the way it was first written because that gets the message across. It's a world of laughter, a world of tears. It's a world of hopes and a world of fears. There's so much that we share that it's time we're aware. It's a small world after all. 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 It's a small, small world.
Disney never stops enhancing, refurbishing, and caring for all its attractions, no matter how old or new.
And they recently went through and cleaned up all the scenes and freshened the paint and freshened the costumes and all of the characters, put new sound systems in so that the music is even more crisp.
We decided that it would be fun to add some of our Disney and Pixar characters to the attraction in the different lands that their stories came from.
Even though they're adding new characters, they're going to do it in a way which doesn't interrupt or disrupt the classic story of children around the world that It's a Small World told.
There's another whole new scene in Small World as well. We've added a section that represents America, the farmland with farm kids, and the West with some American Indians and cowboys, and that's where Woody and Jesse reside.
That's not the only addition to Fantasyland. Pixies have taken over the banks of an enchanted pond at Pixie Hollow. Here, you get to hang out with Tinker Bell and her fairy friends.
Pixie Hollow is the first place in the history of the Disneyland parks where you can actually meet Tinker Bell. So we really wanted to immerse you in the world of Pixie Hollow, and the only way to do that is to shrink you down to fairy size.
That's not all. The fairies have some secrets they like to share.
If you ever wonder how a flower gets its color or how a rainbow gets its color, where stars get their twinkle, where bees get their buzz, you really want to ask the fairies how that all happens, because they're the magic behind all of the wonderful things in nature.
And don't forget to bring your camera, because fairies love to have their pictures taken. Next on our behind-the-scenes tour is New Orleans Square, featuring all the charm and color of the French Quarter. Here you'll find unique shops and restaurants typical of New Orleans, along with a couple of Disneyland's most popular attractions. One is the Haunted Mansion, where your ghost host guides you through a stately manor inhabited by 999 happy haunts. Down an endless corridor, over haunted ballrooms and spook-filled seances, right into a creepy old graveyard. This happy haunt escapes the grave by using modern special effects and ride technology. There's even a twist on an old tale. Now the mysterious and bloody past of the Black Widow Bride is revealed. The other famed attraction located in New Orleans Square is Pirates of the Caribbean. It's a boat ride through the days when pirates plagued the seas.
It was absolutely the most advanced ride ever created, and it was the longest dark ride ever created.
The attraction has 2 drops, or waterfalls, designed out of necessity. The Disneyland railroad tracks were in the way, so the drops take you and your boat beneath the train tracks. Another innovation which changed the theme park industry forever, and one that no other company has been able to duplicate. Truly lifelike human audio animatronics.
Pirates of the Caribbean ended up being the very largest attraction Disneyland has ever done, and to this day, in many ways, it's still one of our very best.
Well, I think Pirates of the Caribbean is, you'd have to say, is the quintessential theme park show anywhere in the world. It has spectacle, it has story, it has great characters.
The Pirates technology still ranks among some of the most advanced in the field.
It happens on 3 or 4 levels. It involves flume and water technology and is still the largest tour de force of audiomatronic human beings ever presented in an attraction at Disneyland.
But even state-of-the-art technology needs a little TLC, especially for the wigs and costumes. Each figure owns 3 costumes to accommodate wearing, cleaning, and a backup in storage.
In the wee hours of the morning each night, we have costumers going out to freshen up the costumes, make sure everybody looks right.
After all these years, Pirates of the Caribbean remains one of the most sophisticated and popular attractions at Disneyland. It's inspired a string of hit movies that in turn have inspired updates to the attraction itself. According to Tourist Attractions and Parks magazine, Disneyland Park vies with Disney World's Magic Kingdom in Florida as the most visited theme park in America. So how does Disney invigorate a 50-year-old park with fresh ideas for the waves of new guests over the next 50 years? One answer is thrill rides, and Big Thunder Mountain was an important attraction in that direction.
But the world was marching to a different tune back in the 70s, and Disneyland really had to take the ball and get in step with what was perceived to be a need to make Disneyland a lot more exciting. When we opened Big Thunder, the lines and the response we got from the public showed us that the decision was a right one.
Introducing more exciting attractions only left audiences wanting more. So a few years later, Tomorrowland took off with Space Mountain. And Critter Country got the drop on a new attraction, Splash Mountain, based on the story of the Song of the South characters.
When Splash Mountain was being designed and developed at the time, we wanted it to be the highest, fastest log flume drop in the world.
You've got this really amazing story and music and this cartoon world that you're now riding in the middle of. We take you into an experience like that and we immerse you into the world of Brer Fox and Brer Rabbit, and you're surrounded by the beautiful scenery. Splash Mountain is one of our guests' all-time favorite attractions.
The Disney company started a process of reinventing itself and looking for new directions. And yet it was still important that every generation find a reflection of what was important to them as a child, the myths they grew up with. And certainly for any kid growing up in the 70s and the 80s, that world was George Lucas and Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Disney partnered with George Lucas and developed one of the most sophisticated attractions ever created. It's called the Indiana Jones Adventure.
It's such a strong, iconic thing in America. You know, Indy is Indy. It embodies what adventure is. How do you capture that into a ride?
Let's go! The Indiana Jones Adventure takes you on a quest for treasure inside an ancient tomb, riddled with lava beds, dangerous bridges, giant snakes, and surprises at every corner. But whatever you do, don't look into the eyes of Mara.
Indiana Jones represented for us a breakthrough in technology. In the past, like on Pirates of the Caribbean, you float placidly through the experience and the action happens around you. Whereas with Indiana Jones and its enhanced motion vehicle, you're breaking the rules and becoming part of the action.
There's a lot more to these vehicles than meets the eye. They represent another advance in ride control technology.
We wanted things to come at you and toward you that you responded to and then got away from. That sort of meant, because you're not physically running, we had to have another mechanism that was the runner, which ends up being our vehicles.
The vehicles are called EMV, short for Enhanced Motion Vehicles.
These vehicles have a lot of personality. They react in the same way that a person would react to something that's happening. For example, if somebody goes boo to the side, all of a sudden you're going to probably, pull back a little in surprise. Guess what? That's what our vehicles do.
The vehicle base drives on a flat track. The secret is the motion, which is created by hydraulic actuators.
With this type of vehicle, we're able to simulate everything from going over stones and rocks to sharp turns to sudden dips to up and down large hills, and program all these movements into the vehicle.
It's that successful track record of combining cutting-edge technology, memorable thrills, a classic story, and a sense of Disney-themed adventure that has continued to spawn fresh concepts and groundbreaking attractions throughout the decades. You don't have to look far to see how pushing those limits turned a long-forgotten favorite, the Disneyland submarine voyage, into something very new and very exciting.
4 years after Disneyland's opening in 1959, Walt did a submarine voyage that took guests underwater to the North Pole in conjunction with General Dynamics, who built the first atomic submarines in America.
When the submarine attraction at Disneyland closed down, Imagineers immediately started to figure out what kind of story can we put in here to bring the submarines back. It's such a classic attraction. And when the movie Finding Nemo came out, we said, that's it, we've got our story, and the rest was history.
Here, you board a yellow submarine and dive into the depths with Marlin and Dory to, you guessed it, find Nemo.
So we looked at this as a sequel to the film. We're not retelling the story of the film, but we're putting those beloved characters in an underwater environment. You get to look at them in water, in their natural environment. You're down there with them. And just like you would expect to have happen, Nemo goes off on a little adventure with Crush's son Squirt. Of course, Marlin thinks they're lost, and Dory's just trying to keep up with things.
Even though these subs have gotten a fresh coat of yellow paint, they're actually green.
We did a couple things to the submarine voyage to make it more environmentally friendly. We took the original diesel submarines and we turned them into electric power. The other thing we did was we used little impregnated with colored glass beads and broadcast that onto the coral. That it's not going to fade, it won't need to be repainted all the time. It was all recycled glass, so it was environmentally friendly and it's beautiful. They just sparkle.
This attraction really makes a splash with blending the latest in virtual technology and elements of the real world.
You get to go to all these different places. You get to ride an East Australian current, and you get to go through a sunken ship, and you get to see jellyfish, and it's a pretty lengthy experience. So by the time you get off the submarine, you feel like you've really explored many different places. It's very satisfying, and it really delivers in that way.
In the Disneyland Park, over the rivers of America, another technical marvel is making waves. It's Fantasmic. It's a musical. It's got pyrotechnics. It's got hydrotechnics, lasers, and it's got Sorcerer Mickey conjuring up magic in a battle against some famous Disney villains.
Fantasmic, the storyline is about good versus evil, and Mickey obviously is the hero, and he goes through a whole colorful array of Disney animation, and all of a sudden the evil characters come into his imagination. Tinkerbell sparkles the entire island with her pixie dust, and all the beautiful Disney characters come out on the Mark Twain.
More than 50 live performers are used to bring this 25-minute extravaganza to life. Imagineers challenge themselves again when renovating the show, making it even more, well, Fantasmic. Visitors return time and time again to Disneyland for the timeless stories and attractions that they remember from their first visit. Walt Disney was fond of saying that Disneyland will never be complete, and while that park continues to evolve to thrill new generations of parkgoers, Disney saw an opportunity to create new adventures and experiences with a whole new theme park, Disney's California Adventure. Celebrating the excitement and the spirit of adventure and discovery, Disney's California Adventure sits just across from the entrance of Disneyland. This park provided Disney's Imagineers with the opportunity to create new stories and attractions that include Disney characters that today's kids are growing up with. One of the best examples of this is Toy Story Midway Mania.
Toy Story Mania is an example of a new type of attraction that we've introduced into our parks. We've taken the beloved characters from the Toy Story Pixar movies and the world they live in and combined that with the role-playing experience of a video game and brought that to life in our parks for our guests.
Everybody knows that the toys come to life and play when Andy's away. And so this particular day, Andy received for his next birthday a Midway Games play set. And so when Andy went downstairs for dinner, all the toys decided to set up all the games, put the batteries in, and invite everybody to come and play.
When you board your ride vehicle, put your 3D glasses on, take aim, and let the games begin.
Toy Story Mania is a 4D experience, and what that means is that not only do you see the imagery come into your space and into your face, but sometimes you actually feel it. For example, when you're playing Bo Peep's Balloon Pop and you fire a dart at one of the balloons and it's a water balloon and it pops, you feel that water in your face. Or the outer space game, if you ring one of the rockets and it comes flying out at you, you feel the wind going by.
Not only has it been estimated that guests break over 1 million virtual plates a day, you'll want to pay close attention to the other targets as well, because some trigger surprise reactions, special effects, and bonus points.
One of our goals with Toy Story Mania was to keep it fresh. The fact that you can hone your skill does have our repeat visitors excited about going back and playing again. To up the ante on that, we actually put in what we call Easter eggs. These are little things that you can learn to do or that actually are released over time. And I'm not going to tell you any of the secrets today, though I might say if you look for a fox somewhere in the game, you might end up getting some extra points.
Not only do you get a higher score or more points when you discover some of these secret targets, but there's also a visual payoff where, for example, if you hit a target in a certain way, it causes another reaction. It causes something else to happen.
Disney's California Adventure features some other familiar characters in Monsters, Inc., Mike and Sully to the Rescue, and Muppet Vision 3D. It's also the home of Disney Channel's Playhouse Disney characters.
Playhouse Disney, in a nutshell, is it's Minnie's birthday. And Mickey, Donald, Goofy, and Daisy get together and they are going to have a party, but it's a surprise party for Minnie.
The little ones can sing, play, and dance with familiar friends from many of their favorite Disney shows. In an auditorium without seats, it's easy for kids to get in on the act with bubbly special effects and hit Disney tunes.
This show really, you could almost say that it is a play date for your kids. They've seen these characters on TV, but when they come to see Playhouse Disney live on stage, there they are, right in front of them.
Disney's California Adventure is home to one of the most innovative attractions Disney has ever created. It's called Soarin' Over California, a realistic hang gliding jaunt over landscapes and skylines of California. It is by far one of the park's most popular rides.
The idea of soaring over California does two things. One, it gives the guests the experience of flying, but it also shows, some of the incredible natural beauty of California.
It actually feels like you're soaring over the state as your hang glider takes you from the California desert to the rivers of the High Sierra, to the fertile Central Valley, and a few other places. The demands of this kind of attraction presented numerous challenges for Disney's Imagineers. Challenge number 1, how to get all those people up in the air next to the movie screen.
When we lift a group of people up, there's something like 35 tons that we're moving. It's a challenge to get that to be very smooth and seamless so people didn't feel like they were riding on, lots of iron and steel, but were in fact, soaring on a very light hang glider.
How did the Imagineers solve the problem? What makes it all work?
So I came up with what I thought was a relatively simple mechanism, so I decided maybe I would make a little model. And then I remembered I had an old erector set, and I went up in the attic and found it and blew the dust off, opened it up, and found out, the inside there were, gears and pulleys and pieces of structural steel, and I thought there was enough there that I could probably make a little model. So over a couple of hours, I put together this model. And what it shows is that we could have a single floor that people could load on, and then we could, via an electric motor, we could fly them up into the dome and show them this movie. And while the movie is running, we could move them up and down a little bit. We could swing the seats back a little bit to sort of add to the effect of flying.
One more reason not to let Mom give away all your old toys. The center of Disney's California Adventure theme park is dominated by Grizzly Peak. The big thrill here is Grizzly River Run, a wild water attraction through the rocky canyons of Northern California.
Well, the nice thing about Grizzly River Run is that they brought in authentic trees that you might really experience in the wilderness. They brought in rocks. And if you want to really be immersed in the story, you make it as authentic as possible. You don't just put in some plastic decoration.
Grizzly River is unique. It's the longest, the tallest, and the fastest whitewater rapids ride ever built.
So be prepared to get wet. Grizzly River Run has 2 drops. The top drop is currently the world's highest for this type of attraction, and there's something else unusual about it. As the raft slides down the tallest drop, it spins.
There aren't any other raft rides except at Disney that have a round raft that goes down a down ramp, and certainly not a spinning one.
As for the rapids themselves, they're created by a device called a turbulator.
The turbulators are essentially underwater bumps that we put on the floor of the flume. When we put a bump underwater on supercritical flow, that bump will translate up to the surface of the waters.
Other state-of-the-art devices include an indexing sensor at the attraction exit, which orients the unloading raft in the exact position as when it was loaded. It's the only one of its kind. They're also able to adjust the attraction for the seasons.
One of the exciting innovations on Grizzly River Run is that for the colder seasons of the year, they can reduce the water flow so that the guests don't get as wet, but they still get to experience the ride.
Paradise Pier harkens back to days gone by of boardwalks, carnivals, and amusement parks of old. It's also home to the park's biggest thrill. Disneyland Resort's first coaster with a loop, California Screamin'. It's themed after those old wooden beachside roller coasters, but there's nothing rickety about this attraction.
California Screamin' is much more than another roller coaster. It's a very high dynamic. It's a linear induction motor, will shoot you out along the lake at some great speed as you go up through the tunnel.
That 215-foot catapult launch takes you through 2 scream tubes and down nearly 6,000 feet of track, making it the longest roller coaster in California. If launching to 55 miles an hour in 4 seconds doesn't get your adrenaline pumping, how about dropping faster than the speed of gravity? You can do that at the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror.
Disney's Tower of Terror is a perfect fit for Disney's California Adventure because of the story. The story is based in Hollywood in 1939, and it's all about this Hollywood hotel that was the place to be and to be seen, especially if you're a celebrity. But something really mysterious happens one night when there's a huge electrical storm.
The hotel has been sitting dormant since 1939. You visit the hotel, find out there's still a service elevator that is working.
The Twilight Zone Tower of Terror invites you for a stay in the Hollywood Tower Hotel, if you dare.
As you enter the service elevator, throughout the ride, you end up becoming part of the story. You disappear into the Twilight Zone.
What you probably don't know about this version of the famous freefall is that it features 3 separate elevator shafts, each with 2 ride vehicles, 2 load levels, and its own operating system.
The Florida version of the Tower of Terror, which was the first Tower of Terror that we built, is a little bit different than the one we built for California Adventure. When we looked at efficiencies on how we get people in and out, how we utilize the shafts to minimize the space, we discovered that having 2 vehicles for one of these shafts was the most efficient.
Technological advancements are used throughout the ride experience to transport you into the Twilight Zone. Towering over Disney's California Adventure at 183 feet, this is not only the tallest attraction at the Disneyland Resort, but it's also one of the tallest buildings in Anaheim.
We purposely positioned the Tower of Terror so the screams would go out into the park. I mean, the screams are sort of an old circus trick. You put the barker out in front and whet people's appetite, and I think the screams throughout the park whet people's appetite, say, what's going on here? I need to go check that out.
Since it opened in February of 2001, Disney's California Adventure introduced many new attractions never seen before. And since then, new shows, rides, and experiences have been added to supercharge the adventure at Disney's California Adventure. But according to Disney, that was just the beginning. There are extensive plans to expand the park to satisfy today's theme park audience. For starters, Disney's California Adventure will unveil a new entrance to rival Main Street in Disneyland.
We want every guest to feel just like Walt did when he came to Los Angeles in the 20s. And to do this, we've created a very special street. We call it Buena Vista Street. It's going to have great shops, excellent food, and in the center is going to be the Carthay Circle Theater, the theater where Snow White premiered. We get to create the red cars that were all over Los Angeles when Walt arrived. Walking along Buena Vista Street and riding in that red car is going to be an amazing experience.
One of the most exciting new areas of the park will be Cars Land.
Well, we're going to create an entire Cars Land for our guests to experience, where you're going to meet the characters and you're going to be able to be in Radiator Springs. It's going to be fantastic.
Some cool things are also in store for Paradise Pier that will change the theme park's landscape for a new generation.
Paradise Pier is a chance to celebrate the romance and the charm of the great seaside amusement parks. Now we're adding these really fun, fantastic boardwalk games that are starring the Disney and Pixar characters.
The neat thing about the games of the boardwalk at Paradise Pier is that we can go back into that era, take the classic Midway games that you would see, but now again, apply Disney characters. Now you can see games that are very, very unique.
There will be new attractions bringing Disney magic to life like never before, like The Little Mermaid, Ariel's undersea adventure.
This is the first time that you're going to be able to ride through the experience of The Little Mermaid.
We want to make this a very immersive attraction to where we're going to actually take people under the sea. It's mostly just good old-fashioned theatrical storytelling that we're using, but we also have some new special effects technologies that we want to utilize here.
We have the carp with the harp and the newt with the flute, and we have Sebastian conducting the whole thing in the middle.
Wow. This is going to be spectacular.
You're going to be able to sing along. You're going to be able to see Ariel, Ursula, Flounder, Sebastian, all the characters up close. The Little Mermaid is going to be an incredible experience.
And Mickey Mouse invites you to swing into action on another new attraction,
A really exciting ride that we're working on is Silly Symphony Swings. We're going to be taking Mickey's band concert and overlaying that onto the classic Swings ride.
So you'll be sitting in a swing, and as the ride starts to telescope up, there's going to be the cyclone that's going to occur. You're going to see the characters revealed, and on top of it, you're going to have Mickey in his classic band concert pose conducting the orchestra.
And over in Paradise Bay, a larger-than-life canvas of dancing water comes alive in the world of color. This highly anticipated nighttime show features fountains that create the world's largest projected water screen, measuring 380 feet by 50 feet. That's 19,000 square feet of viewing.
The kind of idea behind World of Color was to bring a new nighttime spectacular to Disney's California Adventure. We've tied it back to Walt Disney and the original television show, The Wonderful World of Color.
Combining fountains, movie projections, and light effects in a viewing area with a capacity of 9,000, World of Color brings the Disney of yesteryear and today together in a whole new way.
The scale is huge and not like anything you've seen before as far as a water show goes.
We have fountains that go 30 feet tall, we have fountains that go 200 feet tall, we have fountains that move, and everything is done in full color.
We're actually going to bring the whole lagoon to life. It's a journey that will take you everywhere from the forest of Pocahontas. You're going to go surfing with Crush, to the magical sorcerer's hat that brings up Silly Symphonies. This is going to be the must-see entertainment. It's going to wow guests. It's going to fill them with emotions that Disney can really do.
I'm excited about all the new additions, and I love it the way it is already, but I think it'll be 100 times better.
This multi-year expansion project will transform Disney's California Adventure into a cutting-edge theme park and provide visitors with more Disney. That means more entertainment, more attractions, more characters, and more stories. It's not hard to see that Disney has created an original resort experience in Anaheim, California. Not only with the creation of Disney's California Adventure, but with resort hotels and an extensive dining, shopping, and entertainment district. Downtown Disney is a complex of restaurants and upscale shops designed for those wanting Disney experiences beyond the park gates to round out their stay at the Disneyland Resort.
We like to stay at the Disney hotels because, for one thing, you're right there next to the park. You just walk right out the door, walk through the gate, and you would never have to leave the magic.
Walt Disney Parks and Resorts have really learned over the years that guests want to escape to that immersive Disney experience, and that includes staying in a Disney hotel. It makes it so much easier for them to experience the nighttime entertainment and Disney dining.
Three hotels now grace the landscape surrounding the Disneyland Resort. And with downtown Disney right next door, visitors can immerse themselves in the world of Disney for their entire vacation. There's the original Disneyland Hotel with iconic Disney theming, the Neverland pool deck, and Goofy's Kitchen character dining. There's the Paradise Pier Hotel with a roller coaster inspired water slide at the rooftop pool and a laid-back beachfront boardwalk atmosphere. And finally, the majestic Disney's Grand Californian Hotel and Spa.
The Grand California Hotel is spectacular. It's like the moment you walk into the lobby, from the finishes to the lighting to the furniture, it's all in that arts and crafts style, and it kind of transports you to a kind of romantic, historic place in California.
As part of Disney's effort to reflect the essence of California in their resort, they designed the quintessential California dining and wining experience, the Napa Rose restaurant. This award-winning restaurant, with its warm arts and crafts style dining room and state-of-the-art kitchen, gives visitors a taste of California's rustic cuisine and an impressive selection of California's finest wines. The Grand Californian is also the first hotel built inside one of Disney's American theme parks.
With that, we have our own private entrance. And what a more special way than to stay in a hotel and wake up in the morning and go downstairs and walk right into the park.
After 40 some odd years in the business, my greatest reward, I think, is that I've been able to build this wonderful organization. Also to have the public appreciate and accept what I've done all these years. That is a great reward.
Half a century later, people from all corners of the globe still throng to the Disneyland Resort. So what keeps them coming?
I think people come to Disneyland because it's the magic of the place is that you forget all of the cares and woes that you have. You're totally immersed in the stories of Disney. At Disneyland, you know, it's all about everything's going to be okay. It's a place where guests can meet with friends and family and have a good time and make memories. Disneyland is so much a part of the American fabric, and it's almost like comfort food.
When you look at all the adventures here at Disneyland and you say, what is kind of the collective force that brings them all together? It's the diversity that makes the mix here at Disneyland exciting. The fact that you can ride Dumbo the Flying Elephant, visit with the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, take a journey down the Nile River on a jungle cruise, or explore a temple with Indiana Jones, or take a trip off to Neverland with Peter Pan. It's tentpoles out at the farthest extremes of fantasy, history, adventure, and so forth that really make Disneyland diverse.
Our guests, there's a certain ownership about Disneyland that people just love, and it's always there for you. No matter what's happening in the world, you can always have Disneyland.
Through the years, Disneyland has had an immense impact on every theme park and amusement park built since. And I don't think there's a theme park operator out there today that won't look today at the Disney organization and say, they're the ones that made what we're doing today possible.
Never becoming complacent with being the best at what they do, Disney faces the challenge of surpassing themselves head-on, not only today, but every day as they look into the future.
At Imagineering, we're always thinking of new things, whether it's a new story, a new way to tell the story. We have so many people here and so many different disciplines that bring something to the table, and you just never know what's going to spur that idea.
Well, I think that the vision of Disneyland and the Disneyland Resort in the next 50 years is that it will continue to create new magic for people who come here and build on the original vision that Walt Disney had, that it would be a place that when you come, you'll always find old friends, old favorites, and yet you'll always find something new. And that's been true for almost 50 years now. And I think it will be true for the next half century as well.
So rest assured that plans are constantly in the works to stay ahead of the curve with new shows, exciting attractions, and unique experiences to write the next chapter in the Disneyland Resort storybook. But it's more than a fairy tale, more than a theme park. It's a place where a man with a dream built mountains and riverboats, talking birds and singing ghosts, shining streets, and the constant ringing of laughter and song. It's where people will continue to come and lose themselves for a while, in a land that may very well be the happiest place on earth. To get started planning your Disney Parks vacation, just click on disneyparks.com/fun.